Part 4 on how to plan and manage your church communications. This is a training video from Yvon Prehn. Planning and managing. Here's our situation. This is what happens in so many churches. Leaders articulate a vision, they announce a ministry, they have a staff meeting, and then almost immediately the PRs hand it off. Someone says, okay, let's tell people about it. The PR can be fantastic, but the result is often what's not expected. As many people don't show up as you wanted to have show up. Maybe the ministry doesn't go the way you wanted it to, and people are disappointed. What's happened? Well, let me backtrack now and talk about a true example. Now, let me just say that in my ministry, in the things I write, in the things that I teach, all of my examples are true examples. I don't make up stories. Now, I might change some of the identifying details so as not to embarrass any member of the body of Christ, but these are true stories that I'm going to be telling you. Here's one. At this particular church, they decided that they really wanted to have a lot of people help with Daily Vacation Bible School. They were going to really push it in the coming season. They had a meeting on it, staff meeting, and this particular church happened to have a couple of young interns who were very good with multimedia. And one of the interns said, Pastor, here's how we'll get people involved. We'll do a little fake television newscast, and we'll pretend that we're reporters, and we'll talk about, the terrible state of children today and how we really need people to take care of them and nurture them. And this will get people all excited, and then they can go and sign up for VBS. Pastor said, that's a great idea. The staff thought it was wonderful. They put on the video, and the lady that was telling me about it said, it was really cute. They did a great job with their little interview. They got people very excited. And then at the end of it, they said, now go out into the lobby and sign up to help with Vacation Bible School. So she said she went out in the lobby all excited to help out, but there was no table there. And she thought, well, maybe I didn't understand them. So she looked in the bulletin. It didn't say anything about how to volunteer or sign up. She went onto the website. The church's website said that they were having Vacation Bible School and there was a form to download for children, but nothing about volunteers. She called the church, got voicemail. After punching various buttons and staff directories, she said, I finally got a hold of somebody who their voice message said they were involved in the children's ministry. She said, by that time, I was so angry. I just said, I really wanted to help, but you made it absolutely impossible for me to connect with you, and I will probably never volunteer for anything again. Click. Now, that's really too bad. But sadly, I think that happens a lot when we just focus on the vision, we jump right to the PR. We don't always get the results that are expected. Now, the practical application, what we need to do is, instead of just enthusiasm, which is wonderful, we might want to use some very practical nuts and bolts forms. And I'm going to show these to you in just a little bit. And there are copies of them on the website. But these forms will help you add communication planning and evaluation time to your church event planning. You don't want to just jump right into the end result, and I will be showing you specifically what I mean in just a minute. But you've got to take the time to carefully think through planning the whole process and also time to evaluate it. In your planning, you must require a foundation of details, little nuts and bolts and things that are not fun to figure out and write down and categorize. But these are really the foundation. Again, I will show you a form that will help you rein in and rope in all these little details. And then you want to repeat your PR many times in multi-channel ways. I often say to people in my seminars that you have to advertise something till you are absolutely sick to death of it. And when you can't stand to hear about it anymore, you're still going to have people come up to you and say, now, what do we have going on this weekend? That's just the nature of life today. People are going in a whole lot of directions. And so you have to create a lot of different forms of PR in many different channels, repeat it in many ways for your people to really know what's going on. And then always evaluate your results and make changes if you need to. I want to warn you ahead of time. It will be very hard to find the time to do this. Other things will seem so important. You will constantly fight the urge to not get all the details, to just get the information out there to whatever, but please don't do that. You've got to track down the time to do this careful planning, or you will not get the results that you want. Let me show you a specific example. Here we have 2 ways to advertise small groups, and this just shows you how in every piece you need to track down that complete information. Details, details, details. These are the essential link that actually gets people to different activities, that gets them connected with ministries. It isn't the creativity, it isn't the splashy graphics, it isn't the full motion video. You've got to tell them the details. Here we have, and this is actually adapted what came out of a church. Small groups are important at First Church. And I know from talking to some of the people, they really were important there. But then just lists of people's names and the time and the day of the week. What does that tell you? Nothing. There is no way for people to physically connect with a group by seeing something like this. You have to track down information. Church staffs are so stressed out and so overburdened today. They don't have time to look up all this stuff. So many church websites, it can be there, but if you haven't put it all there, again, it's just frustration. People don't link up. Just because you print something doesn't mean you've communicated anything. In contrast, this is the kind of thing my husband and I have done when we've helped churches that we've been involved with put on things like the Purpose-Driven Life campaign or various campaigns to get people started in small groups. Here we have the title of the group, what day it meets, the time starting, ending, what it is, single adults or young marrieds or women's or men's. We had all sorts of different groups. And for every single group, we had a card like this where the event is going to take place, a person's phone number, address. My husband and I happen to be teaching this one. Our phone number, childcare will be provided, a description of it, and then you see both a map where it just lists the directions and then actually a physical map. Some people prefer one, some people prefer the other, and a little marketing statement. Cards like this I made up for every single group that we did. And yes, it was a tremendous amount of work, but you see, instead of something like this, where you think you've advertised it, but nobody can really connect, this actually connects the people. Now, you might be thinking, well, how in the world do I get that kind of information? Well, let me show you this next chart. And again, these charts are all on the website. This is a reporter form, and you can make it up and make up different kinds of forms for the information that you need, because again, it's the details, not big and splashy multimedia, that is what actually connects people with the events. I use things like this for overall announcements, for newsletter, web information, bulletin, whatever. I do modified ones if I'm trying to get a whole listing of people for what small groups are going to be in, that kind of information. One thing too with a form like this that makes it very helpful, some people, and we all know who they are in the church, never turn in anything. And to keep peace in the body of Christ, you just can't keep on their case. You just don't know what's going on in their life. So you got to be kind and, give them a little mercy. But for folks like that, I find it works out really well. Just give them a phone call, interview them, find out the information that you need. Now, let me just say a little side thing. If you're using something like this for overall information in your church, for bulletin, website, etc., and you get a sheet like this for your different events, not only does it work really well for putting together all the event PR and that kind of thing, but you can photocopy the forms, give them to everybody in the church office so they have a copy of them by the telephone. That way, if people do call, all the information is right there. They just look in their file for the week, boom, it's right there, and people always have folks who can help them. We are to be the servants to our church, and this can really be a very practical tool to help you in that serving. Now, there's a number of other forms. Again, these are on the CD. You can download them. These are great not only for specific planning prior to the publications, but for overall direction, and also these forms really help keep peace in the body of Christ. Now, with the different forms, I'm going to be preparing videos that'll show you in more detail how to use each one, but I want to just kind of give you a good overall idea now. In using the forms, don't argue whether they work or not. Try them and then record your results. Just test, don't argue, and I think you'll see a big difference after a while. Let me show you some examples. First of all, this is one of the best. This is a very basic church communication strategy sheet where you put down the event, the date. Now, this is something that's really, really important. Put down the number of responses you would consider to consider the event successful. Let's go back to our illustration of Vacation Bible School. They decided to do Vacation Bible School. They wanted to get a lot more people involved. Well, what does a lot more people mean? Is it 10? Is it 20? Is it 50? Whatever that is, you want to write it down because you want to be able to go back and you want to be able to say, this was successful, this worked, or this didn't work. If you don't have a measurement, you really don't know what you're going for then. This next thing, and I did, of course, take time to fill out the whole chart because that would take way too long, but I think this will kind of give you an idea. Then using a chart like this on the specific actions we need to take, and then you would fill in the rest. But you notice we start out in this particular instance, decide what jobs are needed for successful VBS. How many people for each job? Write the job descriptions, the requirements, the training offered, the commitments asked. Decide which jobs need child interaction screening. Now, right here in those 3 little statements is an unbelievable, crushing amount of work. If you're doing something like this for setting up a small group ministry, you would have to find out who's willing to host it, what are they going to be teaching, is childcare provided, get the directions, is someone going to be a host and a teacher, or do you need an extra teacher, do you have a substitute, what are the materials, do they need to be ordered, do people have a cost? I mean, there is so much work in these things, and that's why, quite frankly, a lot of times it doesn't get done. And as I said earlier, I know what this means to do this stuff because in my husband's and mine's ministry, I'm the person who has to track all this down and put it in a form and create the materials. This takes so much time, and you really want to quit halfway through it. But let me encourage you, if you get all of those facts, all of those details, then you do them all up, and you really have something that works for people. And what's kind of neat about it is once you get this done, then you don't have to keep changing it. You've got the basic information, and you can put it in bulletin announcement on the website, in a brochure, into flyers. For example, that card that I showed you, that I always do things like that for Bible study things. I don't have to redo it when I put it on the website. I take exactly that same information, put it on the website. Same information, put it in a brochure. Same information, shorten it a little bit, insert it in the bulletin. Once I've got the basic stuff, you can put it in all the different channels. And that way people can take in the information in whatever channel works for them, the web, print, bulletin, all of the above, and they can connect with the different ministry events. In this instance, you would do all that. Then you would prepare the applications. Then you'd make sure that there was a table in the patio for people to sign up. Make sure people are recruited to staff it. I'd get follow-up people, confirm with them. And then, you see, and only then do we advertise it. Sadly, so often today, we jump to the big and flashy. We don't do what I call this kind of foot washing ministry of getting all the things in place first. But this is what we have to do for this to be successful. Then we follow up and we train and confirm them. And if you do this, you will then have a successful event. Now, after you do your events, then you need to evaluate. And a chart like this can be extremely helpful where you write down your different events and then you record how you advertise it. Bulletin announcement, insert, email. Did you put it on the website? Did you do a PowerPoint thing? You know, how are all the ways you advertised it? And then after all of that time has gone by, mark the attendance. And if I would do this maybe for several months, and say you have similar events, and on some of them, maybe all you did was you announced it from the pulpit. Another one, you announced it from the pulpit, and you did up a postcard, and you put it on the website, and you did maybe an email blast, or you vary it in different ways. See what gets the largest number of people to attend. Now, it'll be different for every church. Different churches, congregations respond to different things. Different age groups in your church will respond differently. The only way you really know what works is to test it with your people. Don't let anybody say to you, oh, this is the way people respond today. That's just not true. Some people respond one way, some people respond another. You need to do it for your people. And by using a chart like this, you will know. Then, too, I recommend after big events and holidays especially, you take just a few minutes. You don't have to call a whole meeting unless you want to, but just take some time and say to yourself, okay, for example, I'm recording this a few weeks after Easter. We just had Easter. Now, what were the things that we did? What worked? What didn't? What are the successes we would like to repeat? What changes or modifications would we like to make? And just our overall comments. Put that in a file, and then next year, when you're getting ready for it, you can pull it out and you can look at it and you can think, oh, yeah, that's right. This worked, this didn't. This is what we want to repeat. Oh, maybe we'll do that a little bit more. People seem to really like it. And that will give you a head start on events that reoccur. Now, I've showed you how to do some forms and planning and evaluating. In part 5, we're now going to get into some of the more fun stuff. We're going to talk about design. We're going to talk about the tools and the training that are available to help you.